Hey fam, look, for the next few weeks, I want to talk through the idea of God and justice. Now what I'm not talking about is social justice. And I know that social justice is a big idea, especially right now. But I want to talk about the justice that's attributed to God and not society. And in my humble opinion, man, God's justice is bigger and more important. So let's spend some time there. Now, before we jump all the way in, I want to acknowledge the critics to God's judgment. When we look at the world around us, it's sometimes hard to see justice at all. I mean, people are suffering at the hands of other people, and they seem to just get away with it. Natural disasters cause catastrophic losses every year. Where's the justice in that? So first, let me acknowledge that I don't have all the answers. And the answers that I do have, I can't fully unpack in the limited time that we have here today. Second, God's justice is more clearly seen when we look at the world in large segments of time rather than just the right here and the right now. And third, the Bible makes it very plain that all of humanity and all of creation is currently not as it was created to be because of sin. Now, there's more to all of this, but I'd have you look back at my first point. So let's press on. Let's define justice. Justice is the maintenance or administration of what is just, right? It's the assignment of merited rewards or consequences, punishments. Justice is when I do something wrong, I receive those consequences. But justice is also restorative. It's seeking out the vulnerable people that are being taken advantage of and making sure that that doesn't happen. It's more than just charity. It's going so far as to change social structures to prevent it from happening again. But the part of justice we really like is people getting what they deserve, especially when it's people who've wronged us. But this begs the question, how does God treat people justly? For that answer, let's look at some verses in Deuteronomy, chapter 10, looking at verse 17. It says this, "For the Lord your God is the God of gods and the Lord of lords. He is the great God, the mighty and awesome God, who shows no partiality and cannot be bribed. He ensures that orphans and widows receive justice. He shows love to the foreigners living among you and gives them food and clothing." Now, the Bible is not saying that God only shows justice to orphans, widows, and foreigners. This is an Old Testament reference of what Jesus would later call the least of these. They are a real-world example of some of the most vulnerable groups in society. Orphans, widows, and foreigners were at that time, and this time, the marginalized in society. These verses we read shows us that unlike predominant culture, God is impartial when it comes to justice. Now, I said that I wasn't going to talk about social justice, so we're just going to have to keep on. All right, let's move on to another idea. When you look at something that someone loves and someone hates, man, you get to know something intimate about them, right? If I told you that I love good food, but I hate poor customer service, you would know that my favorite restaurants are that they offer more than just delicious food. You'd be able to assume correctly that I love Chick-fil-A, right? Because of their food and their service. Now, in the book of Isaiah, God says that he loves justice, but he hates robbery and wrongdoing. And from this, we can see that people getting what they deserve is not an afterthought with God. It's an integral part of who he is and what he does, right? God views the world and his actions through this lens of justice. Now, the hard part of people getting what they deserve is that we've all done things we're not proud of. Regardless of your religious beliefs, man, we all know that we've done things that are wrong. And this presents a problem with the idea of God's justice because none of us really want what we deserve when it comes to our own shortcomings, especially from God. And so, this is something I would love to talk to you about more in depth because this is exactly where God's love comes head to head with his justice. This is where we find our hope that Jesus has not only accepted my consequences as his own, but he's also given me his reward as my own. So students, I'd love to see you tonight at 6:30. The password is TFF Next. The link for Zoom is in the description down below. And until then, I love your faces.